What is up, everybody? It's Dynamic here, and welcome back to another MLW video. Now, in today's video, we are going to be discussing some rule changes that I think MLW should be considering while going into 2026. Some of these rule changes are going to be based on the actual season, the actual players, while the other rules are going to be more like video scheduling and just different formatting ideas that I think the league should start to introduce. I also have some ideas that I think are kind of a long shot, but I wanted to mention anyways. But before we get into all of that, I just want to ask you guys to subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So if you guys like MLW content and you want to subscribe, that would be a huge help. And without further ado, let's talk about some rule changes I think the league needs to introduce in 2026. So my first idea is going to be inning restrictions for the playoffs. If you guys don't know what this is, pretty much in MLW, when the playoff starts, there are no inning restrictions for pitchers. So in the regular season, you usually play your number one pitcher, your best guy, in the first game, and then you play him again in the third game, and you play like your kind of backup pitcher in the second game. I guess that's an easy way of explaining it. But in the playoffs, you are kind of allowed to play anyone you want. So most teams just end up playing their best pitcher throughout all of the playoffs. And I think it would just be a little bit more interesting to kind of see that depth come back to haunt you. It would be a little bit more important because truthfully, it's not that hard to make the playoffs in MLW. 6 out of the 8 teams do. So I think by kind of adding the inning restrictions and keeping them throughout the playoffs, you're going to see matchups like, well, let's say the Predators are playing the Eagles. Do the Predators want to pitch Ryan Cratch again, or are they going to go with Evan Porter in game 2? Because if they lose that game 2, then for game 3, maybe they do have to pitch Evan Porter. If they played Ryan Cratch game 1 and then played Evan Porter game 2, now they have Ryan Cratch to pitch for game 3. So I think it will just be something that adds some strategy into the playoffs. And hey, maybe if you win, you put in your second pitcher, and maybe if you lose, you keep in that first pitcher. I don't really know how it would work, but I just think it's something that MLW needs to look to add. So my next rule is kind of not really even a rule. It's more of a formatting thing, but I believe that the MLW should push the All-Star game all the way back to the end of the season. I know that the All-Star break serves as a nice break, not only for the players, but for Kyle kind of in the middle of the season. And it also spikes engagement for MLW viewers. But to me, it just doesn't make any sense for the league to have the All-Star game in the middle of the season after only 3 series are played. To me, it just makes the most sense to do the All-Star game towards the end of the season. And then coming along with that, I believe that they should be releasing the All-Star game and releasing the Home Run Derby in the same week. I think it just gets to a point where the audience falls too behind where MLW is actually playing in the games, especially towards the second half of the season. And I think it can take some of the viewers out of the season, knowing that these games were played weeks in advance before we even get to watch. So this rule really isn't that big of a deal, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I think we really need to set the standard for this. I believe that when games go to extra innings or overtime, whatever you want to call it, during the 7th inning, no matter where the game is, when it's being played, whatever, that's when you put on that second base runner. I think in a lot of out-of-state series and a lot of series where, the time is starting to kind of dwindle down and it's starting to get dark out, MLW then will kind of randomly decide to put a second base runner out there during extra innings, because we know these MLW games can last long, but I think there just needs to be a standard set, and I think it should start at the beginning of the 7th inning. I don't really know if this is something that they'll introduce, but I just think it kind of adds some order to something that could become a problem in the future. So for this next rule, I kind of have some playoff formatting kind of suggestions, and it's something that MLW doesn't really have to add in. It doesn't take me out of MLW whatsoever, but I think these changes could be interesting to look at. The first one I'm going to suggest is I feel like the playoffs should be reduced to 5 teams. I understand that there would now be kind of less rounds in the playoffs and that the bracket would be a little bit more challenging to read, but you can mathematically do a 5-team playoffs. There is a way to do it, and I think it just makes more sense that not over 2/3 of the league gets to make the playoffs, that instead of that, there is a bit more kind of fluidity when it comes to teams missing the playoffs and teams making the playoffs, because an average team will not even be the last seed in the playoffs. Like an average team in MLW will probably be the 4th or 5th seed, where like in the NBA or NFL, an average seed might not make the playoffs, and if they do, they're going to be towards the end of the seeding. Now, if they want to keep these 16 playoffs, which is understandable, I get that, but I think there could be also one more adjustment made. This is something that I kind of got from the NFL, but I feel like after those first two kind of like wild card series are being played, the lowest seed should go on to play the first seed, and the highest seed should go on to play the second seed, regardless of where the teams are lined up in the bracket. I think this just adds some fairness to the playoffs and makes it a little bit more challenging for like a low seed to go all the way, because there is a pretty good chance that if you are a low seed, that all you have to do is win 2 series, even if they're against hard teams, and you'll be in the World Series. Well, let's make it harder for these low seeds, and let's make it easier for these high seeds. We want to make sure that the regular season is something that players actually want to compete hard in. So now to end the video, I'm going to give you guys 3 rule changes that I don't really care if they get added in, especially not this year, but there's something to think about. The first one is kind of a manager's challenge. I think it would be cool if MLW didn't review every single play and gave some of the managers challenges. I think that would add some strategy to the league. The second thing I was thinking of is some sort of MLW free agency. I think that would be sick. I'm just not exactly sure how it would work, especially with the players not being paid, but it would definitely add some more excitement into the offseason and keep fans engaged, which I think would be awesome. And then my last idea is just for the MLW to release the World Series videos 2 games at a time. So you can release the first video no matter what you're releasing 2 videos, because you have the first 2 games and then whatever happens in the 3rd game. And then if need be, you can release a 3rd video with the 5th game in it, and by that point everyone knows there's going to be a game 5 anyways. But I don't really see that happening, because the MLW does a good job of spacing out those videos on purpose so they can kind of end their season with a lot of engagement going into next year. So I understand why they don't do that. But anyways, guys, that's all I have for you guys today. So if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow my Instagram. I'll leave the link down below in the comments. And as always, happy 2026, guys. And we're about to have a great year of dynamic wiffle ball. So stay tuned. Love y'all and peace.